When you look at human history, it can feel like just one big chaotic mess, right? A jumble of empires, wars, and ideas. But what if I told you it's not? What if this entire 6,000-year story of us has really been driven by just two fundamental things? Let's dive in. So think about it. From the very first cities that popped up in Mesopotamia, all the way to, well, right now, what's been the constant push behind everything we've done? Building societies, writing laws, crossing oceans. What's the real engine here? It really boils down to this: a constant, nonstop search for two things. The first is safety, that basic, fundamental need to create some kind of order out of all the chaos. And the second? It's our search for immortality, that deep, deep desire to leave something behind, something that lasts longer than we do. All right, so where does this all kick off? It starts with probably the biggest pivot in the entire human story: the moment we stopped chasing our food and started growing it instead. I mean, just look at this timeline. It's kind of mind-blowing, right? Our hominid ancestors have been kicking around for 6 million years. But for almost all of that time, we were wandering hunter-gatherers. Civilization, cities like Uruk, that's like the last few seconds of our entire history on this planet. And this shift, it literally changed our bodies. We went from these tall, nomadic super athletes to, well, shorter farmers, kind of landlocked in one place. But the real game changer, the bigger problem, was this. Suddenly, you have tens of thousands of people trying to live together. How on earth do you manage that? And that massive new problem, it led to our first huge group project as a species: the search for safety. I mean, if you're going to cram that many people together, you have to invent whole new ways of keeping things from falling apart.
So you had the Egyptians, right? They came up with this brilliant, super durable system for safety, the social pyramid. It was rigid for sure. Everyone knew their place, from the farmer all the way up to the bureaucrat, and they all served the pharaoh. And the pharaoh, guys like Khufu or Djoser, they weren't just kings. They were seen as the direct line to the gods. This whole thing wasn't just about power. It was a way to keep their entire world from collapsing into chaos.
Okay, now let's hop over to Babylon. King Hammurabi went a different route. He got super legalistic about it. He created one of the world's first formal law codes, with 282 specific rules. And the key here was predictability. It created safety because everyone knew the rules. But, and this is the fascinating part you can see right here, the inequality was baked right in. It was a feature, not a bug. A noble's eye was officially, legally worth more than a slave's. Why? To keep the social order in place. So, right there, you've got these different early civilizations, all chasing the same thing. In the Indus Valley, they're focused on physical health, with amazing plumbing. But in Babylon and Egypt, they're building legal codes and social structures for societal health. Different roads, yeah, but they all lead to the same destination: creating some kind of order. But, just surviving, it's never really been enough for us, has it? And that brings us to the second great driver of history: this deep, profound quest for immortality. The need to leave a mark, a legacy that's going to outlast our own short lives. And wow, did this quest take on some incredible forms. You've got the Egyptians building these massive pyramids, basically trying to physically preserve their pharaohs for eternity. Then you've got the Olmec in Mesoamerica carving these giant stone heads, trying to immortalize their rulers' souls in stone. And then, in a totally different way, you have the Buddha in India, seeking a kind of spiritual immortality, a way to connect with something eternal. That's a philosophy that would go on to inspire leaders like Ashoka the Great to rule with peace. The Greeks, on the other hand, they tried to find immortality in pure thought. For someone like Plato, the ultimate legacy wasn't a tomb. It was a perfectly designed society, an idea that would live forever. And he passed that thinking down to his student, Aristotle, who then went on to tutor a kid named Alexander the Great. Talk about an idea spreading. Of course, faith has always been one of the most powerful paths to immortality. Just look at the founding of Islam in the 7th century. Its incredible expansion wasn't just about conquering land. It was about spreading a divine message, creating a global community that would last forever, a caliphate that stretched all the way from Portugal to China. Okay, but here's the big cosmic joke in all of this. The very empires we build to create safety and to chase immortality, they're incredibly fragile. It's like the bigger they get, the more likely they are to collapse. And that kicks off this endless cycle of rise and fall. Rise and fall. Alexander is the perfect example. He builds this mind-bogglingly huge empire, spreading Greek culture everywhere. But his quest for legacy was so him. It was all tied to his own personality. So the second he dies, poof, the whole thing just shatters as his generals fight over the pieces. One man's immortality just wasn't enough to hold it all together. And then we hit the Middle Ages, and this whole cycle just goes into hyperdrive. You've got the Vikings raiding all over Europe and actually laying the groundwork for Russia. You get feudalism, this whole new system for safety where peasants trade their freedom for a lord's protection, and the Pope is sitting on top of it all. Then you have the Crusades, these brutal holy wars over whose legacy gets to control Jerusalem. And then, out of nowhere, the Mongol Empire just explodes onto the scene with Genghis Khan. It's just constant chaos and rebuilding.
And then something happens that just breaks the whole system. The Black Death. We're talking up to 200 million people dead. It's a horror show, but it completely shatters the old feudal system. Why? Because suddenly workers were rare, and the survivors? They had power. They had leverage. The rules of safety got rewritten basically overnight by a plague.
So that cataclysmic event really launches us into the world we might recognize as modern. And here's the thing, the cycle doesn't stop. It just gets faster. The tools change, the maps change, but those core drives for safety and immortality, they are exactly the same.
You can just feel the acceleration. In the Renaissance, you've got Da Vinci chasing personal immortality with his art. A few years later, Martin Luther attacks the entire Catholic Church, trying to create a new kind of spiritual legacy, and kicks off the Reformation. At the same time, Cortez is conquering the Aztecs, forcing a new, brutal system of safety on them. And then boom, 1776, the American Revolution offers a totally new idea for safety: democracy.
And it's wild because Machiavelli, writing right as all this is kicking off, just nails the timeless, brutal math of the quest for safety. He's saying it's safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because fear, the dread of punishment, never fails. I mean, that is the exact same logic as Hammurabi's code, just dressed up for a new era of princes and politics.
So, what does all this mean? What's the bottom line? After 6,000 years, the clothes change, the weapons change, the gods change, but the story doesn't. Our story is and has always been about us trying to build systems to keep us safe, while desperately hoping we can leave something behind that will last forever. And that leaves us with one final big question. Here we are in our own age of insane technological change. Are we really any different? Have we finally figured it out? Or are we just stuck in the same loop, this endless quest for safety and immortality that, well, might just be what it means to be human?